Welcome to Med Decode.
Hey there.
Okay, so for today's deep dive, we are unpacking a topic that honestly affects millions of people who are looking for that year-round glow, indoor tanning.
Right. And for years, the industry has really wrapped itself in this marketing blanket, this idea that a controlled tanning session is somehow safer than just lying out in the sun.
It's this idea that controlled means safe.
Exactly. The ultimate bait and switch. People think they're getting a predictable dose, minimizing their risk. But, thanks to this really groundbreaking new study using single-cell sequencing, we can now see the permanent molecular damage.
And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We want to go beyond the general warnings and look at the actual genetic scar these machines are leaving behind. And just to set the stage, before we even get into the new data, what's the established scientific consensus on tanning beds?
Oh, the consensus is ironclad. And it has been for years. The World Health Organization, the WHO, classifies tanning beds as a Group 1 human carcinogen.
Group 1. Okay, so that's the top shelf of danger.
That's the top shelf. It puts them right alongside asbestos, arsenic, even cigarette smoke. This isn't some theoretical risk. It's a known, definitive carcinogen. The difference now is we have the molecular receipts showing how and why.
So let's start with those broad strokes, the epidemiological red flags. We know melanoma is a huge public health concern. It's responsible for something like 11,000 deaths a year in the U.S. alone.
Right. And the link between tanning beds and those statistics it's undeniable. Study after study shows this really clear, alarming pattern.
Which is?
That people with a history of tanning bed use have a significantly higher lifetime risk of melanoma.
Yeah.
And this is important. They don't just get it more often, they tend to get it at a much younger age. It just accelerates the whole timeline.
That's a critical point. You're not just upping your statistical risk, you're literally losing healthy years. And the data shows a really clear dose-response relationship, right? It's not all or nothing.
Not at all. The risk scales with the number of sessions. The more you go, the more you drive up your chances. And this study, it actually quantified that.
How much?
Well, after adjusting for everything else, age, family history, skin type, you name it, tanning bed users had a nearly 2.85 times increased risk for melanoma.
Almost 3 times the risk. Wow. That just shows these beds are delivering something uniquely potent. It's not just about having fair skin.
It really is. And the dose response shows up in another disturbing way. Tanners were also significantly more likely to develop multiple primary melanomas.
So not just one tumor, but several.
Exactly. Think about what that means. The damage isn't just focused on one spot. It's widespread. It's poisoning the entire landscape of your skin at the same time.
Okay, so this brings us to the central marketing claim the industry has been using for decades, the whole UVA versus UVB thing.
Right, the argument that their beds are safer because they have a higher proportion of UVA light, and they claim UVB is the real villain, the one that causes burns.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because that claim it's a masterclass in distraction, isn't it?
It is. They want you focused on the proportion of the light, but you need to be focused on the absolute intensity.
So what's the reality when you measure the sheer power output of these machines?
The intensity is the real problem. So, okay, let's start with UVB, the part that causes sunburns. Tanning beds still deliver similar levels of UVD radiation compared to strong outdoor sunlight. So they haven't gotten rid of the so-called villain.
But the UVA is the real shocker.
That's it, precisely. To get that quick, deep tan, tanning beds deliver 10 to 15 times higher UVA irradiance than natural sunlight.
10 to 15 times.
Yeah. Compared to sitting under the noon sun, the exposure in a 15-minute tanning session is just radically elevated. They've cranked up the overall dose, turning the UVA, which penetrates deeper into the skin, into this high-powered genetic wrecker.
That just blows that whole safer spectrum idea out of the water. It's like arguing a shotgun is safer than a rifle because the pellets are smaller. But you're ignoring the fact that you're firing 15 times as many of them at point-blank range.
It's a perfect analogy. And this excessive intensity directly refutes another popular claim, the idea of the base tan.
Ah, yes, the pre-vacation tan, the idea you need to photodap your skin before you hit the beach.
It's biologically false. It's fundamentally misleading. Getting a base tan in a tanning bed does not protect you. All it does is use that intense energy to rapidly raise your cumulative genetic mutation burden before your vacation even starts.
So you're not protecting your skin, you're just giving it a head start on developing cancer.
Exactly. It's a risk multiplier, never a risk reducer.
Okay, so if the epidemiology and the irradiance levels are alarming, This next section is where the whole thing just collapses. We're moving beyond statistics and looking at the permanent damage on the DNA itself. Let's talk about this molecular scar.
This is the absolute core of it. The researchers focus specifically on melanocytes. For listeners, these are the pigment-producing cells in your skin. They're the target. When they mutate, they become melanoma.
And what did the cells from the tanners look like compared to the control group?
The difference was just profound. They measured the median mutation burden, basically the total amount of accumulated DNA damage, and the melanocytes from tanning dead users had a burden nearly twofold higher.
Twofold higher.
We're talking 5.69 mutations per megabase versus 2.86.
Okay, let's pause on that number. For those of us who don't think in megabases, what does that density really mean for the cell?
Think of a megabase as like a chapter in the cell's instruction manual. That number tells you how many typos, how many permanent errors are scattered through that chapter. A twofold difference means these cells are carrying twice the baggage, twice the number of irreversible genetic errors. It is literally a permanent genetic scar.
And these aren't just random typos. The researchers looked for specific kinds of errors, right? The ones known to actually drive cancer.
Exactly. They were looking for the cancer seeds. And the results were stunning. In the tanning bed users, a massive 23% of their melanocytes carry these pathogenic cancer-driving mutations.
23%. And in the control group?
Just 7.3%.
So almost 1 in 4 of these key cells is already carrying a mutation that puts it one step closer to becoming cancerous. That's a fundamentally compromised system. They specifically mention mutations in NF1 and BRAF genes. Why are they so important?
Well, if you think of a cell's growth controls, NF1 and BRAF are like two of the main safety levers. The BRAF gene is kind of the cell's accelerator pedal. When it mutates, especially to the BRAF V600E form, it just slams the pedal down. It drives fast, aggressive tumors.
The wildfire.
Precisely. Now, NF1 is a tumor suppressor. When it mutates, it's like you're cutting the cell's brake lines. So the tanning beds aren't just causing random damage. They are specifically breaking the machinery that prevents cancer in the first place.
Creating both fast-acting and slow-burning risks at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That insight brings us to the fourth major finding, which I find the most compelling, this field effect, the unique anatomical pattern of damage that only tanning beds create.
Right. If you look at people who get melanoma from the sun, it's usually on highly exposed sites, right? Arms, face, upper back. But with tanners, it's different. They're significantly more likely to get melanoma on body sites with low cumulative sun damage.
So areas usually covered by clothing, like the lower back.
Exactly. Tanning bed users got melanoma on these low exposure sites 76.1% of the time, compared to about 61% in the controls. The difference in mutation burden was most pronounced in those previously protected areas.
Wait, okay. I get why the bed damages those areas. The radiation hits everything. But why is that more dangerous? Why should I care if the melanoma is on my lower back versus my shoulder?
That is the core of the field effect. You should care because those covered areas, their cells haven't had decades of chronic UV exposure. They haven't built up any of that sort of toughness you might find on skin that's always in the sun.
So those protected cells are genetically unprepared for this massive UV blast.
Exactly. It's like sending an untrained civilian cell into a radiation war zone. Tanning beds blast the entire body, including the most sensitive, unprepared cells with that intense 10 to 15 times higher UVA dose. It creates this huge field of compromised cells in areas that should have been safe.
Which makes the tanning bed uniquely dangerous. Did the study find a unique fingerprint, like a molecular stamp that only indoor tanning leaves?
They did.
Yeah.
It's subtle, but yes. While most of the damage was the expected UV signature, what they call signature 7, tanners had a statistically significant higher presence of another one called signature 11, or SBS 11.
And what's special about signature 11?
Well, think of the standard solar signature as the footprint of general sunlight. SBS 11 is a bit different. It's linked to the specific type of mutation caused by high-energy UVA exposure. Given that tanning beds deliver that uniquely high dose of UVA, SBS 11 may very well be the unique genetic marker left by that machine. It's the machine's signature written into your DNA.
So wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you, the listener, who maybe is thinking about a tanning session or used them in the past?
It means that the marketing claims of safety, of controlled exposure, of photoadaptation, they are scientifically, epidemiologically, and now molecularly unjustifiable. Tanning beds are not a safe alternative to the sun. They're a unique, full-body radiation source that causes permanent, widespread genetic damage.
The genetic cost is simply too high for a temporary cosmetic benefit.
Indeed. And to finish this deep dive, here's the final provocative thought. The research suggests that the earliest melanomas in younger tanners are often driven by those BRA400E mutations.
Fast-growing wildfires.
Right. But the key surprise is that the normal skin of those tanners is already riddled with other mutations, most often NF1.
The slow-burning embers.
Exactly. This suggests that the intense radiation from tanning beds is planting a broad spectrum of cancer seeds all at once. So while the aggressive BRAF tumors might show up first, those other NF1 mutated cells are still there. They're still damaged, still one step closer to cancer, and they could evolve into different types of melanoma years or even decades later.
So the question is?
The question is, are we seeing the full, long-term genetic cost of indoor tanning still unfolding? That permanent legacy of risk doesn't just fade away when the tan does. It stays with you forever.